Mike and Tom are registered with Stewart Partners Global Advisory LLC.
Common Sense Finance with Mike Wiginton and Tom Farrell of HL Wiginton Capital Management, an independent investment and financial planning firm in downtown Jasper. Mike is a chartered financial analyst charter holder, and Tom is a certified financial planner professional. They are here to discuss and give their thoughts on current financial and economic matters. Now, with Common Sense Finance, here are Mike and Tom.
Welcome back to another segment of Common Sense Finance. I'm Tom and this is Mike. And you know, from time to time we get questions from our clients about these segments that we do, and they ask, hey, you know, those things that you're doing are good, but we have some questions about maybe stuff that's a little bit more basic. And one of the questions that we've gotten, and it's a great question, is about the indices that we look at on the market, and maybe the different exchanges, and you know, what's the difference between those, and how do those work together. So Mike, what do you say about that?
Yeah, so I think the initial question we had, and we've had that comment a couple times, but the last one was, what exactly is the S&P 500? You talk about it all the time. What is that? And so let's start off. We'll handle what is an index, and the second we'll save for last, what is an exchange, what's the difference between the two. So if somebody asks you, Tom, how's the stock market doing, how do you respond to them? You know, there's just under 4,000 publicly traded stocks in the United States now.
Yeah.
So how do you sum that up? How's the market doing?
Yeah, well, we typically look at the S&P 500 move for that day, and that's kind of the measure that we go off of.
Sometimes you might use the Dow.
Sometimes, yeah.
If you had a client that had a lot of technology holdings or in that sector, you might even talk about the NASDAQ.
Right.
So here's the thing, a index is just a subset of the whole population of publicly traded stocks. Okay. If the Dow Jones Industrial is still widely quoted and still widely popular, but keep in mind the Dow Jones is just 30 stocks, and it's the big so-called blue chip industrial companies, a Caterpillar, for example. But 30 stocks is not a big enough sample of the overall population to really tell you where the overall just under 4,000. A population of just under 4,000 stocks, where the overall market's going. The Dow Jones could be up or down, and the overall market could be doing something totally different.
Right. Then a lot of times you may have one stock in the Dow that is doing horribly for whatever reason, they missed earnings, whatever, and it can drag the whole indices down.
That's exactly right. So that's not very representative.
Right.
Okay. And again, I'm not trying to not demeaning the Dow Jones Industrial Average by any stretch of imagination, just to point out the factual the facts of the matter here. So the bellwether index today is the Standard & Poor's 500, aka the S&P 500. It's the 500 largest companies, largest stocks that are domiciled here in the United States. So as it turns out, 500 is a big enough sample of the overall population to be representative, and that's why the S&P 500 has become one of the reasons it's become the go-to index that people benchmark their performance against. Right. And so that I hope is a fairly straightforward explanation, understandable explanation about exactly what an index is. Then go to an exchange.
Yeah.
You know, all of these securities that a person, these investments that a person owns, they have to be bought or sold somewhere. Where does that happen? On an exchange. So, today I think there's actually 13 exchanges that are here in the United States, but the major exchanges are the New York Stock Exchange, which you can go visit. I don't know if you've ever been there, but it's a physical place.
Yep.
All right, and there are actually still people, not as many as there used to be, that are there on the floor of the exchange. But of course, a lot of that's been computerized.
Yep.
Then you have the NASDAQ, which stands for the National Association of Security Dealers Automated Quotation System, and that's actually a series of computers that are linked together. And of course, securities can be traded there. Not a physical floor like the New York Stock Exchange, but nonetheless. So the exchange, that is the place where securities are bought and sold.
And keep in mind too that just because you see the S&P 500 is up for the day doesn't necessarily mean that the investments that you own are going to be up for the day, even though it's a good sample size. And typically, most investments move along with that. It doesn't always coincide with what your individual investments do.
Absolutely, and I think that's a great point.
Yeah.
But that's fairly straightforward, and unless you have another word on that, we'll leave it there.
No, that's it for this segment. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Just can't believe all the things people say. Controversy. Am I black or white? Am I straight or gay? Controversy. Do I believe in God? Do I believe in me? Controversy. 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 I can't understand